Welcome to another episode of Service to Humanity, a sponsored program of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. I am your anchor on the program, Habiba Zokzok. A two-day training workshop for coordinators of independent monitors of the NSIP held in Abuja. This got us into talking about data gathering to support the effective implementation of government's efforts to alleviate poverty. Along these lines, we shall be looking at how the National Safety Net Coordinating Office and its state partners gather data from which programs of the NSIP are supported. Please stay tuned as it promises to be an enlightening time on the program. I'll be back with the details after the break.
The program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you.
Thank you for all what you have been doing for us.
We begin with the Management Diary, where we bring you news and current happenings in the ministry and her agencies. In the news, IDPs in Borno State receive recovery needs items from the federal government. And Ministry organizes one-day validation meeting on nutrition guidelines of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Keep watching.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has given internally displaced persons in Maiduguri, Borno State recovery needs items. The recovery items comprised of 75,600 pieces of clothing material for women, 72,000 pieces of clothing materials for men, 19,200 polythene mats and 19,200 blankets. Presenting the materials, the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bashir Noura Al-Ghali, commended the government and the good people of Borno State for the resilience built over time that stood and subdued the unprecedented insurgency for a long time, particularly for providing good working relationship and partnership between Borno State and the federal government, in particular, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and its agencies. She added that the gesture shows the importance of President Muhammadu Buhari's effort to ending the plight of the unfortunate victims of the insurgency, who are mostly women and children. Receiving the items on behalf of the IDPs, Governor of the state, His Excellency Professor Babagana Zulum, represented by the Deputy Governor Umar Usman Kadafur, expressed gratitude to the federal government and the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs for the humanitarian support provided to the state government during times of crisis. He said the relief items came timely and assured that the State Emergency Management Agency SEMA will distribute the items in line with the instructions given by the ministry. He further stated that the state will set up a mechanism to ensure that the items are given to the right people. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has organized a one-day validation meeting of the nutrition guideline of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program.
This is just summary of the nutrient standard. At least 30% of fat.
The meeting, which held on the 31st of March 2022 in Abuja, had in attendance the National Coordinator of the National Social Investment Program NSIP, Engineer Umar Binder, representatives of the Nutrition Society of Nigeria NSN, as well as the World Food Program WFP, states program managers of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, and other stakeholders. The objective of the meeting was to authenticate the nutrition guideline of the school feeding program with the intention to boost nutrition of food served to primaries 1 to 3 pupils of public schools under the program. President Nutrition Society of Nigeria Professor Wasiu Afolabi expressed optimism that, for the first time, the country is getting it right, putting nutrition as a key factor in operationalizing the National Homegrown School Feeding Program.
There was a state that was given
one of these sachet mix, a sachet of milk to children, and they call it school feeding program. That is not school feeding program. School feeding program is a global intervention. And you know how much United States of America and United Kingdom are spending on feeding school children. You will be amazed. We've had school feeding program before, but I give kudos to the technical managers of the current national homegrown school feeding program for doing the right thing.
Professor Afolabi pledged the support of the Nutrition Society of Nigeria to ensure that school children under the program benefit from the nutrition guideline when validated. Interacting with journalists, National Coordinator of the National Social Investment Programs NSIPs, Engineer Umar Binder, described the meeting as another milestone towards providing food that make a balanced diet for children under the program.
This function is another milestone in the sense that we have now developed a nutritional guideline with the help of the Nutrition Society of Nigeria. So it's all not just local content, it's totally local on how do we do things, how do we train our cooks, how do we feed our children, what kind of foods can make up the menus of our local food materials. We worked very hard for nearly 2 years to develop this standard institutionalized document, and we are here to validate it.
Welcome back. The National Social Investment Program is a social welfare initiative created by the federal government of Nigeria in 2015 under the direction of the National Social Investment Office in a bid to alleviate poverty in the country. To make the various clusters of this initiative sustainable and more impactful, the ministry employed independent monitors in all states of the Federation and the FCT to police the activities of these programs. To this end, a 2-day training workshop was organized by the ministry for the monitors in Abuja. Keep watching.
A training program on monitoring and evaluation of the National Social Investment Program has been organized by the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in Abuja.
This is the National Homegrown School Feeding Program dashboard. I'm trying to let you see what we have.
The 2-day event had in attendance National Coordinator, National Social Investment Programs, NSIPs, Engineer Umar Binder, Special Assistant to the President on Monitoring and Evaluation and Team Lead, Monitoring and Evaluation, and the State's Coordinators for Independent Monitors. In a brief welcome address, Dr. Fatia stated the aim of the 2-day training workshop.
We are trying to make sure that we monitor these programs appropriately, we improve on our data quality, we're able to do our work with integrity, we build our leadership skills so that we're able to lead the team that has been entrusted in us.
The state coordinators for independent monitors took turns to give testimonies of the progress made so far in their various states. The event saw the state's coordinators getting trained on ground rules, introduction to monitoring and evaluation, the 7 fundamental steps of monitoring and evaluation, sharing and using data. Other topics the state coordinators were trained on include leadership and management, use of SMIS application for basic analysis, performance management, reporting and documentation, and data management. After a questions and answers session, the state coordinators were broken into groups for an exercise.
The last table there, you're going to tell us about reports. What is report and what are the different types of reports that we have, right? And then we covered performance management, right? So this table, you tell us what is performance management.
Deserving state coordinators were given awards in recognition of their performances, with the criteria being effective management on independent monitors, timely response to tasks, effective follow-up, articulate report writing. Engineer Binder speaks on the essence of the training.
This program literally is one element of bringing a layer of our monitoring structure, the independent monitors who are located within the local area. These are young girls and boys who are committed also to the development of this country, who, without arguments, without portraying that they are anti-corruption agents, without quarreling, goes to the project sites to now try as much as possible to ensure that things are working, and they report back. And the reporting is not manual as we're used to. It's very digital. You monitor today, the data reaches Abuja today. So this function literally is to bring the coordinators who are helping us at the state level to now pull these young people who are called independent monitors, now to work well, to share the responsibility of monitoring these projects, to articulate their reports and send them regularly, and at the end of the day we hope that they will also be part of the equation to solve the problems of this country, but most importantly is for us to know that what we're trying so hard to implement at the state level down to the grassroots is actually working.
Sufyan Adam, coordinator of Kogi State Independent Monitors, speaks on the progress of NSIP programs in his state.
We have recorded a great feat. While on the field, we discovered that this money, for example, the CCT, are paid to the actual suffering people. Our old women in the villages are the ones who are actually benefiting from this CCT that are given to them. So, and the people are very happy that the government is coming to their rescue. The government is supporting them to exist, to live in this harsh economy. So the success is very good.
Aisha Bello, coordinator 2 for Kaduna State, also speaks on performance of independent monitors in Kaduna State.
When we talk about monitoring and evaluation, it's one of them, a very, very strong tool when it comes to projects. For me personally, I see M&E equal to the project or equal to the resources they are putting in the project. Any project that doesn't have M&E, I don't think it will go a long way. So personally, going to the field, having an independent monitor has been able to help in data collection and also policy making and the progress or sustainability of the project they are doing right now.
Obisike Felix, coordinator 2 for Abia State, speaks on the impact of the independent monitors on the NSIPs.
Have really, this NSIP program have really contributed a lot to, this is the kind of program that you don't need to know anybody to be part of it. So, somebody at the end of the day will get 30,000 naira. Some of them at the end of the day, like we have the previous batches, they hear success stories of they save the money, they are doing poetry, doing one thing or the other. So we have many success stories. Some of them, we document it at the state focal office.
Across the 6 geopolitical zones.
They should use this money for what it is meant for, judiciously, to take care of their family.
In 36 states and the FCT. Over 6.4 million of Nigerians poorest of the poor in about 1.3 million households receive conditional cash transfers of 5,000 naira monthly under the Household Upliftment Program of the federal government. Their joy knows no bound.
And the government is very well because they did well for us.
Help me to do any other thing, my family.
Reducing absolute poverty, promoting shared prosperity through the Conditional Cash Transfer Initiative. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in service to humanity.
You are still watching Service to Humanity. The concept of independent monitors, no doubt, is a laudable one. For the ministry, it gives it the opportunity to keep its eyes on its programs and monitor if its interventions are getting to the target beneficiaries. That's where a lot of Nigerians are concerned. Who are the target beneficiaries and how do they get on the register? This is where the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, NASCO, comes in. NASCO was established by the government of Nigeria in partnership with the World Bank to strengthen social safety nets and social protection system in Nigeria as a core strategy to help end extreme poverty and to promote shared prosperity. NASCO and the State Operations Coordinating Units, SOCO, work together to generate data for most government interventions. In our next segment, we will get to know more about how NASCO and this state's branches operate. Stay tuned.
The National Social Register is a storehouse of information about potential beneficiaries for multiple social assistance programs that share a common population of interest, but not necessarily same eligibility approach. It is one of the tools used by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development for programs such as the Conditional Cash Transfer Program. To effectively carry out its mandate, National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office (NASCO) was further broken down into branches in 8 states of the Federation, including the FCT. These states' branches are called State Operations Coordinating Units (SOCU), and they were created to populate the state social registers, which in turn populate the National Social Register. The SOCU also has local government offices under it, where they have the community-based targeting CBT teams. Mr. Apera Yowa is the national coordinator of NASCO, while Mrs. Dawong Nina Yakwal is the state coordinator of SOCU Kaduna State. Interactions with them reveal more about SOCU and how it populates the National Social Register.
The social register in Nigeria, it's a deliberate attempt of the current administration to identify the poor and vulnerable in a transparent and concise manner to target help to the poor people. You recall that when the president came on board, his administration, he declared his administration was people-focused. He had promised that he would give cash stipends to the poor. And so when he came in, he designed a suite of programs to answer his campaign promise, but also to begin to start developing for Nigeria some structures and systems to help us in our quest to eradicate and reduce poverty in Nigeria.
Apera tells us the approach used in mining the required data for the NSR.
The social register uses the bottom-up approach. Here it means that it's the people in the communities that determine those who are poor and vulnerable amongst them. So it is not a politician giving any name. It's not the president. It's not the governor. It's not a councillor. It's nobody. Nobody writes anyone's name in the register. What happens for the social register is the community will sit together. They would define what poverty means in the context of that community. And you know that Nigeria is very dynamic. What holds in one community will be different, as close as the next door. And so the community will gather together and say, for us in our community, this is what we consider as poverty.
To ensure gender balance, equity, and fairness, the community is divided into homogeneous groups.
The youth group, the women group, the elders forum, the vulnerable group, where you have probably visitors, those who are not based within the community, or rather they are not indigents of the community, but they are based. And then you have those people living with disabilities. So you have about 4 to 5 groups depending on the homogeneity of the setting. So they are divided, and then you now take them through, each of our team members will then take them through the process of vulnerability. In that large community, we understand that these groups might have a sense of what their criteria for poverty is. So within their homogeneous groups, they will then mention criteria for poverty as it relates to their community.
According to Mrs. Nina Dawong, the criteria that appears the most from all groups would be the worst criteria for poverty for the community in question.
Then probably there will be another criteria that only 2 or 3 groups will mention. It follows next. So after the criteria has been ranked in harmonization, you harmonize and rank it from the worst to the lighter one. Then you will harmonize the list of identified people or households. Ours is household actually. list of identified households within the community that fall or that are accepted by each of these groups.
The list of names is called out at plenary, and the community would have to assent. If there is a doubt about any name, that name is removed from the list. After verifying the names, they are then ranked according to levels of vulnerability, with the most vulnerable coming first.
Because when the data collecting teams go out, they ask information of everyone in the household and almost everything, your possession. So, of course, if you have data of someone who has just 2 kids and someone who has 20 kids, you know who is most vulnerable. It's the one with the 20 kids, of course.
After the data is gathered by SOCU, NASCO carries out a screening process on the data.
When the state team gather this data, we will take a mirror image of that data, we will clean the data. We will interact with the data because we have superior softwares and capacity, and so we then ensure quality by checking and validating the data and by running the integrity test to ensure that it is what has been the people that were identified by the community that end up in the final state register.
After the screening, the data is sent into the National Social Register.
Once we certify ourselves like this, we then collate these state social registers to form the National Social Register domiciled here with us. So first, that is clearly our mandate in as far as managing the social register is concerned. Quality assurance, technical facilitation, standard setting and guidelines and frameworks governing the development and management of the social register.
How is this data updated? Mrs. Nina Dawong explains.
There is provision in the project implementation manual. It is expected that data is updated every 3 years. Right now, we are in the middle of an exercise, data update exercise of data we collected from 3 years back.
According to Mrs. Nina Dawong, another duty of SOCU is following up of data mined and giving it to interested donors or interventions.
For example, it's just an example, you are a prominent personnel, you have money you want to support in a program. You come to us, we give you, you have your specifications of who you want. You want the poorest of the poor from between age 6 downwards. We have that data. If it's for the whole state or it's for one local government, we supply that data to you. So what we do is to follow up with you to ensure that you collected our data and you actually utilized it. Yeah. And we may also go around to find out from the people if they actually got the intervention you claim you were given.
The Rapid Response Register is a shock response register created in 2020 to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. How is it different from the National Social Register?
National Social Register targets households. The Rapid Response Register targets individuals. Okay, and the way their targeting mechanisms are different. The targeting mechanism for National Social Register, as I mentioned, through this community-based targeting process, and for the Rapid Response Register, it uses technology. We use the geographic targeting, just like the NSR, but after the geographic targeting, every eligible individual can register using their phones, or to send a text or USSD message or to call, and they are on the register if verified and are judged eligible.
The National Social Investment Program is not arbitrary. It's the government program supported by comprehensively gathered data, which is verifiable. I am sure you have been enlightened more on how much effort is being put to ensure accuracy of data, in addition to what the ministry is doing via independent monitors to see to it that these efforts yield the desired impact. It is the first of its kind in the history of our nation. Until next week when I come your way again, it's good night.